Good morning everybody from Holyhead, Anglesey in North Wales. And this morning I am taking the ferry across to Ireland, the Holyhead Dublin route, on Irish Ferries, MV Oscar Wilde, a big ship this, and I'm looking forward to it, but it's pretty windy. A forecast at the moment is in excess of 50 miles per hour winds, so yeah, I'm sure the Oscar Wilde can handle it, but come with me and we'll go and find out, won't we? I'll catch you on the ship. I've been staying at the Holyhead Travel Lodge for this trip, as this morning's sailing was due to depart at 08:05, with check-in for foot passengers at around 07:20. Now I made my way towards the town centre and then over the bridge that connects it to the ferry terminal and railway station. It's about a 10-minute walk if you're thinking of staying at the Travel Lodge yourself. There is a Premier Inn just out of the town centre, and yeah, if you choose that, then you can probably add another 10 minutes onto your walking time at least. Oh yeah, just making my way to the ferry terminal, and I think over there to my right is the old ferry terminal. See that building there? The dilapidated. Well, put it this way, it's never going to be used again because they built this big bridge across the water, and then there's another bridge over there. So it's a shame really, because I would imagine you used to be able to just, when the ferry came in, you could just connect straight to the train, which you can see, you just about see is behind it. Anyway, here I was at the passenger terminal. I noticed there is a cafe on your left as you enter, which is open at this time in the morning. And there are ticket offices for both Irish Ferries and Stena Line. The latter also operated this Holyhead to Dublin route. And departure screens are here for both ferries and the trains on your left. There is some cold metal seating scattered around, but I was straight through to the check-in area where, after showing my booking, was given my boarding card and ushered through to a small waiting area pre-security. Now once security had opened, our baggage was screened and we made our way to another waiting area, Departure Lounge 2, where the next stage of the process involved bus transport from here to the ship. The bus showed up with about 10 minutes to spare and we boarded accordingly. I counted about 9 foot passengers for this morning's crossing, yet another sparsely populated foot passenger bus transfer. And we're on the noisy bus, which will take us on to the ship, which is just down there. So yeah, and then it will be pretty much time to leave, I think, by the time we get on board. So this is where the Class 175s came to die. Yeah, should never have left service in my opinion, but there you go. The bus drove around for a bit inside the security fence and eventually deposited all 9 of us onto the lower car deck of the MV Oscar Wilde. And note that there is upper and lower deck boarding ramps here, but it looked like only the lower deck would be used today. But it did have the feel of a very quiet ship, I thought. And by the way guys, if you enjoy this kind of video, I'd really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to the channel. It's totally free and it would really help me out in terms of promoting the channel and the content that I create. And I do all this on my own, and yeah, like I said, it doesn't cost anything to you, the viewer. Also, if you hit the notifications button, you'll be reminded every time I release another video. Thanks very much. Right, so lots of freight on this ship, as you would expect, with England and Wales being the land bridge between Ireland and continental Europe. We made our way to the stairwell, and on the way up I had a quick peek at the upper vehicle deck, Deck 5, which did indeed appear to be empty. And then I made my way up to the first of the passenger decks, Deck 7, and that brought me out opposite some toilets, which I turned right and out onto one of the 3 accessible sun decks at the stern of the ship. At this point I took the external stairs this time up to Deck 9 to watch the ship leave. Right, up on Deck 9, it's getting pretty windy up here, and yeah, look at this, right, Now, I'm not brilliant with flags, but that is the flag of Cyprus, isn't it? And that one there, so I'm assuming that's where this ship is registered. I'll tell you what, we're going to, just before we leave, we're going to head up onto deck 10. Let's see if we can get no, we're not. Crew only. Okay, well, this is about as far as we can go then. So we'll hang out here and watch the ship depart port, I think. And we left approximately 5 minutes behind schedule. A few clouds in the sky, but not bad really. The wind was blowing a bit, but the port of Holyhead is, well, it's well protected, isn't it, with its massive breakwater. I referred to the old ferry terminal a little bit earlier on, but yes, Stena and Irish Ferries now use the Admiralty Pier here. And the ferries are a lot larger these days, aren't they? And Sea Link, well, they used to own the port in the late 20th century, and also B&I, do you remember them? Yeah, anyway, it wasn't until we were past the breakwater here that we could really feel any effect from the rougher seas, and even then the ship seemed to be handling the conditions really well, I thought. So time to head inside and have a look at some of the facilities. And starting up here on deck 9 and the main and very shiny staircase. It's the yellow stairs if you need to know, and when you look at the deck plans here, each staircase is colour coded either blue, yellow or green. And towards the bow we have the large Café Lafayette, where you can get sandwiches, pastries and hot and cold drinks. And contained within that was Adventure Island, which is a soft play area for kids, and I didn't film this for obvious reasons. And there's also a separate video games area. I ended up back in the cafe a little bit later on, and I'll show you what you can get for your money then. Now on the starboard side by the green stairs is the club class lounge. Now access is obviously restricted here to people who have paid the €21 entrance fee, but I did manage to find a way in later on in the crossing, and I didn't think the cost was too bad considering what was on offer. Again, I'll show you why in a little while. There's some decent views from the cafe up here though. The rest of this deck towards the stern is taken up by cabins and the outside sun deck that you've already seen. Moving down to deck 8, and it's a similar story with the cabins, which are basically located between the blue and yellow stairwells. But then we do have the very large Boylan's brasserie taking up the rest. Now prices in here were, in my opinion, a little bit steep possibly. Quite a bit of food cooked of course, but there was hardly anybody in there, and I bet quite a bit of it went to waste. I was looking for something like a bacon bap, that would have done me, but I couldn't see it on the menu here. Breakfast baguette was probably closest, and that was nearly €12. French toast, nearly €13. And then presumably you've got tea or coffee or juice on top of that if you want it. I gave it a miss, and decided instead to head back up to the cafe on deck 9, where I consumed a croissant and a coffee for €5.95, and I thought that was reasonable. And the lady that served me was nice. She told me it was a deal, and she even warmed my croissant up for me. I mean, you can't say fairer than that, can you? Now, actually, all the staff I met and spoke to were extremely nice and helpful. I thought most of them were Cypriot, which would make sense considering it was sailing under the flag of Cyprus. But I had heard some information on Irish Ferries employment contracts, etc., being similar to P&O's. Now, I'm not sure if that's true or not, to be honest, but please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong and or share some further details if you can. But ultimately, regardless of their nationality, from a passenger's point of view, I thought they were all excellent. Well, I've just come back up here onto deck 8. Outside deck space. There is, there's an average amount. It's just that it seems to be confined to the stern of the ship, so there's no real kind of side access. I think there might be, but there are doors on there, and the doors say crew access only or something like that. So it's one of those things. So I think the facility might be there. It's just whether they choose to use it for public access or not. And tour of the ship. Well, there's some stuff on it that you may or may not need. Your normal kind of thing. There's a bar, there's a cafeteria, brasserie restaurant type thing, and a couple of shops, and the reception area, games machines, kids play area, everything you need really for this crossing, which is effectively, well, I'd say 3.5 hours approximately, isn't it? So yeah, that is all absolutely fine. But apart from that, most of the rest of the ship is taken up by cabins and vehicle decks, as you would expect. And whether you want a cabin on a 3.5 hour crossing is another thing entirely, isn't it? But I'm just going to chill out now for a bit and enjoy some of the scenery. Weather-wise, it's not too bad. A little bit up and down, but it's a big ship, no big deal at all really, and quite comfortable. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and we'll see you a little bit later on in the journey. So on to deck 7, where the whole of the area towards the bow was taken up by the shop, which stocks your usual alcohol, lots of that. There's some Irish gifts, I suppose you could call them. They're chocolates, well, all the usual stuff really, if you want to make use of your duty-free allowance. And outside the shop is the reception area, where I had a brief chat with one of the crew who was manning the desk, and just remarking on how quiet it was really, whether maybe the weather was a factor in that. Hello, how are you doing? Okay, it's quiet, isn't it? Yeah. Maybe the weather is putting everybody off. Not too bad though, is it? It's not bad. And opposite the reception desk was some kind of display area for whiskey and gin. I guess you could partake in like tasting sessions, things like that. But again, if there were enough people on the ship to warrant it being open, then maybe I could have done that, but sadly not on this occasion. And opposite that area was the perfume shop, in case you were wondering. There's always a perfume shop on a ferry, isn't there? Yeah, it is really quiet, isn't it? I wonder, I didn't really see, but there was quite a lot of lorries on the deck where the bus dropped us off, and I wonder if it's mainly freight drivers today, and obviously they will be in there, although it doesn't look that busy in there either. So where is everybody? It's only 9 o'clock. Maybe they're in the pub. We're going to check out the Sea Pub now. Yeah, the Sea Pub, the most pub-like pub on a boat. Sorry, ship. Brittany Ferries don't do them like this, do they? And the name, well, it's a pub on the sea, isn't it? So I guess that's pretty relevant. And once you're inside, it does have a very cosy feel to it, which I'm sure is the intention. I liked it, and I bet it can get really crowded in here on some crossings. Do let me know, by the way, if you've been on this ship and in this pub on a busy day. I'd love to hear your stories. Now, there's a small area for entertainment, but nothing on nor expected on this morning's sailing. And actually, in the ship guide, it does say that the pub is subject to seasonal opening. So, in a way, I'm surprised it was open at all, really. Guinness would have cost you just under €7 at the time of this video. A bit early for me though. I was heading back up to deck 9 in the lift, where I found myself inside the club class lounge, gazing out the windows overlooking the bow of the ship. Now I was beginning to realise what the attraction of this lounge was. Well, firstly, I cannot divulge how I gained access to the lounge, but yeah, let's just say I didn't pay to get in. And amongst the pot plants here you have lots of comfortable seating, a proper lounge feel to it I thought, and yeah, as you saw, some great views beyond the front of the ship. And the central raised area here is where you will find some snacks, fruit, biscuits, pastries, followed by your self-serve coffee machine, soft drinks, juice, and finally the bit you've been waiting for, free alcohol in the form of French wine on this occasion. Oh, and after that actually there were some cold breakfast type items. Just conscious of the time in case drinking wine at 10 o'clock in the morning is not really your thing. And along the side of the lounge is the proper bar, I guess, where you do actually have to pay for your drinks. And unsurprisingly, that was fairly quiet. Yeah, so that's where everybody is, in the club class lounge. Yeah, €21. You can't really go wrong for that. That's where the value is, I think, on this crossing. And especially in the evening, actually. Right, well, we are about 45 minutes away from Dublin, hopefully. Can see land. So, yeah, and it's not a bad day outside, so let's head back outside and take a few more shots of the arrival. It was still a bit blowy outside, but the ship was pretty stable overall and had been for the duration of the crossing. Built in 2007 in Helsinki, Finland, the ship is actually owned by Tallink and was originally named Star and operating on their Helsinki to Tallinn route. In April 2023, Irish Ferries announced that they were to charter the vessel, hence its subsequent renaming to MV Oscar Wilde. Or is it MS Oscar Wilde? But do let me know which one you think is correct in the comments below. You can see lots of traces of the ship's origins on board, and yeah, I guess at some point the ship may well return to Scandinavia, or yeah, maybe it'll go somewhere else entirely. Well, capable of a top service speed of 27.5 knots, the ship carries a maximum of 2,080 passengers and 450 cars. 134 cabins on board. The ship is indeed registered in the port of Limassol, Cyprus. The MV Oscar Wilde is the largest passenger ferry in the Irish Ferries fleet at present. In terms of prices, I paid £36 for this one-way trip. It's not the cheapest fare I've ever paid to cross the Irish Sea, and I would urge you to look at their competitor on this route, Stena, where you may well get a better deal. Cabin prices, well, interestingly, there wasn't a great deal of difference between day and night usage. €35 is your cheapest day price, €38 at night. And I thought this was reasonable, but do remember it's only a 3.5 hour crossing. And Wi-Fi, well, you get 20 minutes free, and yeah, it took a while to log on, but it was pretty good when it did. YouTube, absolutely fine, as was X. Is it worth paying the fee? Well, I didn't, but with prices starting from €5 for an hour, it wasn't ridiculously expensive. I thought so. Yeah, if you're a heavy user and rely on it, then it's probably worth it. Or alternatively, you can do what I did and just log on to the free Wi-Fi with a different email address every time. Yeah, do remember to put your phone into flight mode when you're at sea. As we neared port, I made my way outside again, where I just took a minute or two to sum up the crossing. Right then guys, so we're about 20 minutes away from docking into Dublin Port on the Irish Ferries MV Oscar Wilde. And yeah, what did I think of the ship? Not bad. It's quite a big ship, isn't it? There's not a massive amount of facilities on board, but there's as much as you need for this kind of length of crossing. Price-wise, there are cheaper ways of getting across the Irish Sea, to be honest with you. Stena in particular, you can probably do it a lot cheaper. The value actually is in the club class lounge, isn't it? €21 at the time of this crossing, and yeah, you get quite a lot of free stuff with that, including some alcohol. So yeah, I think next time if I did do this crossing with Irish Ferries, I would be heading straight for the club lounge. and yeah, getting as much value as I could out of that. And the crew, I thought the crew were really nice, actually really friendly and really helpful. It's such a quiet crossing today, so they haven't got a lot to do, but what they did do, they did with a friendly smile, and like I said, yeah, very helpful. So yeah, all in all, not bad, and we're going to be arriving pretty much on time. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm off to catch a train in a bit, so I hope you enjoy me for that one as well. And until the next time, guys, as always, cheers for now. Now you may be wondering where the "we nearly hit a ship" part of the video is. Well, as I finished recording the summary there, I went and spent a little bit more time watching the ship approaching its berth. Now, I would really value your opinion here, guys, because I'm certainly no expert when it comes to these matters at all, but from what I could gather, a tug had been deployed to push the ship around so that we could perform a sort of 90-degree turn. And my attention was drawn to the stern of the ship by the very loud and long blast from the horn of the cargo ship Tasman that was moored opposite. By the time I got into position and turned the camera on, we were turning in, and all I saw was one of the crew staring out of a side window and then frantically running to the rear to make sure that we'd missed hitting the ship. And I guess it's similar to like trying to park your car on the drive, isn't it, when there's somebody parked opposite. Now, the main difference being that the Oscar Wilde is over 186 metres long and has a gross tonnage of over 36,000. Yeah, anyway, I think the crew of the Tasman were a little bit concerned, but we missed it and we entered the dock safely. Well, I'll tell you what though, the skill required to manoeuvre such a large vessel in these conditions, well, it's impressive, isn't it? Now let me know what you think. I mean, is it quite common to use a tug for this vessel at this particular point when entering Dublin Port? Were windy conditions having a big impact on the day? Was the port just a little bit congested? Like I said, I'm certainly no expert, but it did feel a little bit close for comfort to me. But yeah, I would really be interested to hear what you guys have got to say. Thanks very much for watching. As always, I look forward to reading your comments, and cheers for now.